Joe Rogan gets called out and has a meltdown.
Your question, Mr. Joe Rogan, Mr. Scientist. Are you saying that we shouldn't have...
Don't do that. Don't call me Mr. Scientist. I'll start mocking you, and it's so much easier to mock you. Please stop.
No, I won't. I know you think it's just... I've heard Susan Humphreys.
This is a long conversation that we're not going to have on this podcast because I'm going to get angry because I've researched this for years.
Right.
Let's just
But you're not a...
Who the fuck is Bryan Callen? I still don't know. I don't know why he's famous. I don't know what he has to say of interest. I guess you could say the same thing about me, but I mean, the proof is in the pudding here at Third Eye Global. Bryan Callen?
Scientist.
I don't have to be a scientist to know that...
Yes, you do.
No, Brian, shut the f*** up. I don't have to be a scientist to read research. Brian, you don't know what the f*** I'm saying. You don't.
Well, I know because you're...
I mean, that's an appeal to authority fallacy right there. Where's your PhD? Are you a scientist?
You don't want to talk about it.
Brian, I don't want to talk about it in the middle of the podcast because it'll completely derail the podcast.
Where's Okai from?
Yo, this is a full-blown Joe Rogan crash out. He's leaving his own set. Is he about to strangle him?
From your mother's...
Hey, that's out of line.
Tall and funny comedian Joe Rogan is going through a rough time at the moment. It seems like every week he's being called out for something different, whether it's refusing to acknowledge that Donald Trump is actively trying to hide the Epstein files from the public and pretending like it's still some big conspiracy, or it's the blatant confirmation bias when he falls for yet another AI video, even when his producer...
That's honestly kind of funny.
Jamie is literally telling him in real time that it's fake, but he just brushes
No, that's real. That's Tim Walz.
It often says, yeah, but it could be real. I'd believe it if it was. But it's a very rare occasion when one of his own buddies calls him out to his face in the studio over...
Why is he holding the exact same position as the picture to his left? Look at that synchronicity.
A topic that little Joe is very, very sensitive about and refuses to let it go.
Let me guess. COVID.
I honestly can't remember the last time this happened on JRE. Maybe it was the now infamous Steven Crowder episode where Rogan bullied and mocked him for suggesting weed was contributing to traffic accidents, which Rogan would later apologize for. Watch it, Joe. Watch it. Oh no, hang on. Crowder only says that to pregnant women. Whoops. But Joe and Bryan Callen have history as well. Years ago, Bryan tried to run a gag with Schaub where he pretended to be this tough guy that wasn't going to take any shit from anyone anymore and threatened to show up at anyone's house who had beef with him.
This was really cringy. Was this a bit or is this real? I remember the Bryan Callen crash outs where he would just sort of like, I'm going to beat you up.
To which Rogan shut him down immediately and called him out for hanging around the wrong people.
No, Callen is just that stupid. Good to know. 50-50, it's a toss-up.
You all know the clip, we've all seen it 1,000 times. However, over the weekend on the latest JRE Fight Companion, Bryan called out Joe Rogan for spreading misinformation about vaccinations and their links to certain diseases. Nothing we haven't heard before from our boy Joe, but it's the first time that one of his buddies had the balls to actually call him out for it on a live stream, no less.
Uh-oh.
There is so much more going on here than you think. Bryan Callen knew exactly what he was doing, and I believe this one was 100% planned out beforehand. So stick around because I'll explain exactly what I mean right after this clip.
The bottom line is, biology is really simple. Double X, XY. Sometimes there's a mistake. Sometimes there's an error and you get XXY. That is a real thing.
There's overlap.
But it's super f***ing rare.
Yes.
What this is
So we're talking about intersex diseases?
a social contagion. And Abigail Schreier wrote a fantastic book about it called Irreversible Damage that she highlights how they're happening in these clusters of a lot of girls who are autistic. How come one in every
Rapid onset transgenderism? I think it's more autistic men.
12 kids who's a boy in California has autism now? Because that's what's going on. That's what's going on in California, which has one of the strictest vaccine policies. 1 in 12. Did I say vaccines cause autism?
Florida doesn't demand vaccines
Yeah,
for kids.
that's dangerous to me.
Yeah.
I knew you'd jump on that train.
Of course it's dangerous, Brian. What are you
It is.
talking about?
Tetanus,
All vaccines.
tetanus.
Tetanus.
should we
No,
still-
no,
should we
no,
just
no,
go down
no.
the road.
Uh-oh. Joe Rogan's about to ult.
You need to bail on the tetanus thing because
What do you
Suzanne Humphries.
Educate his ass.
Suzanne Humphries explained tetanus.
She's not a
She's like,
vaccinologist. I know that woman.
all you have to do is keep the wound open and clean it.
Oh, that's
you
such
don't.
bullshit.
It's not
Oh my
bullshit.
God,
It's
what
not bullshit. Do you know how many people die of tetanus every year? Very few. What about?
Why are vaccines such a hot button issue? You ever think about that? If you're even skeptical, you are fucking ostracized. You're excommunicated. It's because of the coronavirus, isn't it?
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Mr. Joe Rogan, Mr. Scientist. Are you saying that we shouldn't
Don't do that. Don't call me Mr. Scientist.
I'm not trying to bubonic plague Max, but also what the fuck is in my arm? That's a great question.
Start mocking you, and it's so much easier to mock you.
So are we not? So you don't believe in vaccines? You don't think we should have vaccines?
It's not that I don't.
Vaccines and autism were a big thing back in the early 90s when I went to school. This isn't the pandemic. No, I've been aware of this connection for a long time. It's one of the biggest correlations people often point to. What does the literature say on it? I guess part of the theory here is that there is more diagnosis of autism than ever, but it coincides with the increased misinformation propaganda. Interesting.
Believe in vaccines. I don't think you should give a kid a Hep B vaccine when they're a baby.
If there was a real link to it, it wouldn't be crazy people that find it out and whistleblow. I promise it'll be people with degrees. Some countries have restricted vaccines to an insane extent because of the vaccine plus autism correlation. It's a worldwide identity crisis.
A lot of problems because they don't test vaccines in a double-blind, placebo-controlled setting.
Hold it.
They test them against other vaccines. You know that, right?
Yes, I do. Excuse me. Let me just say something. Yes, you're right. You can make the argument for Hep B. Here's why. Because the chances of a child coming in
I'm vaccinated against soy, thank God.
Contact with the kind of activity that causes Hep B is different.
Look up how many vaccines a newborn baby gets all at once. This is going to radicalize me, isn't it? Let's do it. 5 or more at a given time, approximately 15 to 17.
What I'm trying to say to you is that there are certain diseases. Pick up a history book. Smallpox, diphtheria, mumps,
polio. Please stop.
Yes. No, I won't. I won't. I know you think it's just. I've heard Susan Humphreys.
This is a long conversation that we're not going to have on this podcast because
Listen, I'm vaxxed and waxed. I'm on that super soldier serum.
I'm going to get angry because I've researched this for years.
Right.
Let's just.
But you're not a scientist.
I don't have to be a scientist to know that.
Yes, you do.
No, Brian, shut the up. I don't have to be a scientist to read research to understand that they were spraying DDT all over the country when everybody was getting polio. Do you know that?
Let me make a statement.
They were calling it paralytic.
So what I'm observing here, and I've actually encountered this in my real life. The problem is, if you are surrounding yourself with the internet, digesting media, talking to people, seeing various different inputs all the time, like Joe Rogan is, and I would even argue for myself, right? I am online 24/7. There comes a certain point where a true online schizo is just after the truth. And when you get somebody that is not privy to the same knowledge that you are, even if they're loose connections, conversation almost becomes like impossible. There's no common ground. Joe Rogan's at the bottom of the iceberg meme. Brian Callen's up here. Not saying Joe Rogan is right or wrong. It's just that there's probably so much to explore, and he's probably pulling up all these different references, and it's like SpongeBob looking for the file of all the different people that he's talked to.
Polio.
Do you agree with the following statement? It's not just.
I'm not going to do this with you,
but
Brian.
It's not just about.
I brought up vaccines.
It's not just about. Hold on, Joe.
No, Brian, I don't want to do this with you.
But it's not just about.
We're in the middle of a fight, companion. It's annoying.
All right, but it's like.
Joe Rogan finally showed his true colors when one of his buddies called him out live on air for the world to see. How many times have we heard Slow Joe rambling on about how he wants to have conversations with people he disagrees with and how he's just asking questions so the internet can decide what's true and what's fake for themselves? Most of us already knew that
a baby doesn't need an STD preventative vaccine. We're talking about hepatitis B. What's the logic on that?
whole shtick was complete bullshit, and Rogan prefers to sit in his ivory tower, guarded down by SEAL Team 6, looking down on us commoners with disgust from his booster chair covered in bubble wrap just in case a small particle floating through the air threatens his fragile ego by virtue of its very existence in his safe space. But if you are still on the fence about who Joe Rogan really is deep down inside, then surely this is all the evidence you needed. There are a few things in Joe's life that he claims to be an expert on. One of them is MMA, even though he's never had a professional fight in his life. Another is stand-up comedy, even though he's never told a funny joke in his life and bought his way into the comedy scene with his fuck you money from Fear Factor and Spotify.
I mean, these are all cheap jabs at Joe Rogan. I don't even want to glaze the man, but I mean, he was there and positioned himself in such a way where he's an expert at commentating on MMA.
But over the last few years, Joe's picked up a new expertise in vaccinology and immunology, even though he's never stepped foot in a lab and believes Terrence Howard's theory that 1 × 1 = 2.
And he was doing stand-up for a long-ass time. I feel like you can't win against commentary channels.
I understand it, though.
I kind of
I
understand,
understand it. I understand.
I mean, it made sense.
To me, he's
making
making me
sense.
believe.
But in the intro, I mentioned that there's more going on here than you think. You see, Brendan Schaub and Bryan Callen moved to Texas earlier this year, and this is the first time they've appeared in Joe's studio since that move. There is so much backstory and lore here that most of you will know if you've been following my channels over the last couple of years, but basically, in a nutshell, Brendan and Bryan's careers have been in free fall ever since Bryan was accused of sexual misconduct by several women, dating all the way back to...
Can't hate the man because he played the game better than you.
the 90s, and since Brendan Schaub embarked on a comedy career and then threatened violence against anyone who made fun of him, including a small innocent Asian boy named Bobby Lee, who has also been accused of sexually harassing morning show hosts on...
So the faceless YouTuber calls Joe Rogan a guy who's been ringside for probably over 200 fights and does martial arts himself and is a black belt in Taekwondo and Jiu-Jitsu. Someone who doesn't know anything about MMA. Not to defend Joe, but that's ridiculous.
Live television. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with these guys? And so moving to Austin, Texas was their last-ditch effort to save their podcast and revive Bryan Callen's comedy career, which for the most part seems to be working. For Bryan, that is. The podcast is beyond saving at this point. I mean, they're literally broadcasting from a storage unit next to a railway line. But in the 6 months they've been living in Austin, Rogan has not mentioned a word about them or invited them into the studio to help revive their failing careers. This live stream was the first time they've been back on JRE since leaving LA. Also, don't forget this isn't a normal episode of JRE. This was a live stream, no editing.
Didn't Joe Rogan have to stop doing live streams for his show because they got too out of hand?
Everything stays in. Obviously, we all know that Rogan gets Jamie to turn the live chat off when Brendan Schaub comes on to protect him from the internet, but now it wouldn't surprise me if Rogan scraps the live streams altogether. Callen is known for fishing for viral moments when he's on Rogan. He's done it a dozen...
He's just annoying. Like, I don't, everything I learn about Bryan Callen and Brendan Schaub is against my will.
...times before, and even though he's a massive creep who will probably never beat the allegations, you've got to give him credit for the subtlety with which he operates. He genuinely fools Rogan and bait him into arguing with him over and over again, knowing it will go viral.
Is he the master manipulator here? I mean, I don't even... Is he like the Peter Baelish?
Just like this one did. That's why I'm saying this was definitely planned. I have no doubt that Callen was waiting for an opportunity to get Joe going, knowing that it's a live stream and Joe has nowhere to hide. That's why Rogan got so frustrated, in my opinion, because he couldn't just turn around to Jamie at the end and say, delete the argument before you post this. This was just another Bryan Callen publicity stunt, except he clearly forgot to tell Schaub about it.
Yeah. And being
CIA.
anti-vax.
But
Being anti-vax
No
is
one's
irresponsible.
anti-vax,
It's
Brian.
not anti-vax. Question why there's so many though.
My kids are all vaccinated, and they're vaccinated, but they went on a delayed schedule. They delayed
So did
schedule.
mine. So did mine. So did
You're
mine.
not?
Yeah, no, not. No.
Yeah, good for you. I don't think you need to.
No, they're healthy as.
Yeah.
Between the two of them, they have 12 touchdowns this week. 2 home runs.
That is 100% Brendan Schaub grade bullshit, right?
Yeah, captain of the football team.
Right there. I don't believe that Brendan's kids aren't vaccinated for a second. He totally just made that up on the spot to impress Papa Rogan. Brendan got all excited when Callan and Joe first started arguing, telling Joe to educate his ass, and the contrast was huge.
I'm just going to feed my kids raw meat from birth. Raise them like predators. Pure carnivore hunters.
Between Schwab kissing Joe's ass for 4 hours and
They're not going to know what a vegetable even is.
agreeing with everything he said, compared to Brian
Primal, like the Liver King.
pushing back and not letting it slide.
I think the problem is that the pharmaceutical drug companies have an exemption because of what they did in the 1980s with Reagan, where they allowed
Dr. Fauci, give me vaccines.
them to never worry about being sued. And that's when they ramped up the fucking schedule. It
Look
started
at
happening with kids.
autism. It's through
Autism
the
is just
fucking
one.
roof.
There's a lot of other autoimmune issues. There's a lot of like serious problems.
I think there are three things that have
Big Pharma loves fat, dumb retards.
pushed us beyond our biology, and the reason we don't have a lot of children dying: nutrition, sanitation, and vaccines. And I think anybody who says otherwise is, I think it's crazy.
But
People
he's not
start
saying all vaccines.
It sounds like he is.
Brian, you don't know what the I'm saying. You don't.
Well, I know because you don't want to talk about it.
Brian, I don't want to talk about it in the middle of a podcast because it'll completely derail the podcast. And I'll
That's
start
true.
showing you statistics. If you look at when people
Oh, he's getting rage baited.
stop getting all of these diseases, and then when the introduction of vaccines happened, it's at the end. Most of those diseases were
I just think it's a bit disrespectful. You're coming on Joe Rogan's show and you're just derailing the whole thing for your viral moment.
eradicated by sanitation and nutrition.
I agree, but there's still pathogens that are very dangerous.
Sure there are.
So-
Brian.
so-
the problem is that these pharmaceutical drug companies are f***ing insanely
Unk is fuming. He strawmans him and pisses him off for clicks because he's a nobody. There's a lesson in there.
entirely corrupt. They have been corrupt for a long f***ing time, and there's a revolving door between the FDA and these pharmaceutical drug corporations. And then they ramp up the f***ing schedule every year, and it's not about public health. None of it is about looking out for you. All of it is about making money. That's the problem.
Who wants to do some smelling salts?
Okai's good. This guy's good.
Okai.
Who wants to do some smelling salts?
Chuck one over here, Jamie. We got some?
Where's Okai from?
From your mother's.
Hey, that's out of line. Hey, that burn is too far.
By the way, if you hadn't noticed, juiced up jiu-jitsu legend
I wonder if those are Juji Mufu smelling salts.
Gordon Ryan has been sitting in the corner on Joe's side the whole time, just watching them going back and
That's Gordon Ryan? Bro looks like a different human every single time I see him. 1 minute he's 67 years old, the next he looks like a chud.
forth like a tennis match. And the funniest bit was when they pulled out the smelling salts, he asked the question I've been wondering about for years. Finally, someone questioned the JRE tradition of sniffing smelling salts for absolutely no reason while sitting in a studio for hours and hours talking into a microphone.
Supposed to wake you up?
Yeah, it'll wake you
I
up.
think
Guys that do it before they lift super heavy,
Yeah,
go
so
for
I
like
know that.
PRs.
Why
I
are
think
we
it
fucking
spikes
doing
your
it right now?
adrenaline.
Just a party. Hey, just to get away from the vaccines before Rogan kills Brian. I brought it up. Feel bad.
I was hoping.
Isn't Gordon Ryan like jacked as fuck? Yeah, he's the best grappler in the world. He's a literal juice goblin.
Right after he sniffed it, Brian was going to bring vaccines back
I
up.
gotta say, how old is he? I think he's like, I can't fathom that Andrei Smayev is 4 months younger than me. Okay, Gordon Ryan age. He's 30. This man is 3 years older than me. How?
We'd get in shouting fights.
He used to tell me that vitamins weren't necessary.
Oh, yeah.
Vitamins aren't necessary.
This is a
I
fact.
talked to a doctor.
Vibes.
He
Like,
told me
I
that
talked to a
vitamins
doctor.
don't work.
It's the
They
battle-
don't do anything.
The battle of conspiracy
This is me and
theorists.
him at a f***ing restaurant in Seattle. Brian, will you please shut the f*** up?
Yeah, but then I started taking vitamins, and I called him up, and I go, dude, I feel great. He goes,
Yeah.
can I know?
I wish you could go back in time and not take vaccines. You'd be like, why am I so healthy? I never got psoriasis. This is crazy.
Hey, shut up.
Turns out I had autism the whole time.
I got
Fucking
my
wet.
I got my levels tested.
Oh.
Dude, how was Waste
My-
Well's
my-
been all
my
set.
test-
Awesome, right?
The best.
So I just got my levels tested
Yeah.
with Brigham. It was awesome, and I got stem cells. But my test is the lowest it's ever been, which is 785. Not bad for my
That's
age.
very good.
Not bad,
That's high test. 785.
right?
That's very good.
Yeah. Now my free though is low. It's like 45.
Ooh.
And she said it should be 151.
be
But
low,
then I did a bunch of research on ChatGPT with PubMed, and I talked to a couple other doctors at Wastewell. They go, we don't want to put you on anything yet because we want to test because your magnesium is a little low. So they're going to put me on that because my test is really high.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
take TRT and get
No,
it over with.
hold on, bro.
No, he's right. Yeah.
So take
magnesium
TRT.
is huge.
Mike Israel.
Of course. You got the demons telling you just take TRT. This transhumanist medical intervention is just such cope.
Who gave me he told me, I said, if I wanted to get huge, give me the steroid
Not
stack.
possible.
And he goes, you don't mind if your liver becomes styrofoam? I go, just f***ing hit me with it.
What was he talking? DECA and all that
He's
shit?
got his PhD.
Was he telling you to take DECA and everything?
Well, and also he's on everything.
Oh yeah. Have you had him on? He's hilarious. Oh, I love that guy.
Oh, he's so funny, dude. He's honestly a top comedy assassin.
Rumor has it that Brendan's still waiting for an answer about the Decker. But all jokes aside, which isn't really that hard on JRE, can we just sit back and appreciate the blatant hypocrisy coming out of Brendan Schaub's face? He's the first one to jump on Rogan's dick when it comes to all the vaccine talk, but when it comes to taking anabolic steroids, he casually peer pressures Brian into going on TRT when his own doctors are recommending he boost his magnesium levels first. It's like listening to Tony Hinchcliffe ranting about excess death rates since 2021.
Just retained semen, it's basically TRT. So true. But there's a bell curve. Sometimes you got to get the poison out, you know what I'm saying? Never goon. Listen, if you practice mana retention, I'm not even kidding. I used to think it was bullshit. But really, it's just rechanneling your energy, right? It's taking that primal sexual urge and putting it towards something that's more productive. You 100% have an edge to you. 100p. I mean, if you goon, you don't want to do anything. Think about that.
While puffing on a British cigarette in Rogan's studio. These guys couldn't even spell the word hypocrisy if they tried, yet they carry it
Don't spill the cup of Hermes. That's right.
in bucket loads everywhere they go. It was only a couple of weeks ago that Brian low-key trolled Brendan on their podcast by getting their producer Chin to pull up the life expectancy of MMA fighters and NFL players, while Brendan sat there squinting at the screen, realizing in real time that his days are numbered. Yet as soon as they hit JRE Studios, Brendan's piping back up and encouraging everyone to do recreational steroids, cause it's cool and Rogan does it too, and he's a scientist so he knows what's good and what's bad. This is the Dunning-Kruger experience in full effect, and it doesn't look like they're slowing down anytime soon. But thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that like button to support the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
Joe Rogan's just getting milked for his reactions. Many such cases.